Warner Brothers Discovery is now for sale and people are going crazy. What could this mean for the future of DC and Hollywood? Especially James Gunn and his new DCU. Is this disastrous for him? Is he freaking out? Is he fired completely and the DCU cancelled? Netflix is posting stuff about Black Adam vs. Superman with Henry Cavill. Zack Snyder is posting a bunch of stuff too. And then you got a lot of people retweeting and reposting, oh, give the Snyderverse to Netflix. Let them do this. Let them resurrect that now that DCU and James Gunn is out. There's a significant issue with this though, because a lot of people have overblown the fuck out of this news. But there are some things, especially involving Netflix, that could go very, very wrong for not only the films, but fans of these films, okay? Now let's talk about James Gunn. James Gunn in an interview, because he can't seem to keep his fucking mouth shut, said he's questionable about his future with the DCU, okay? Now, this doesn't mean he's fired. This doesn't mean he's been removed. Okay? It's going to be kind of hard to make a decision to completely move away from everything you've established in the last couple of years for the new DCU, but still, even though his future is questionable, understand something about James Gunn, and this is both the positive and negative about him. He's unprofessional in his answers, in that he says what's on his mind. He doesn't give a tailored response or a well thought through response to one. And you can see it in his tweets. This dude responds to everyone, even randoms, and just says what's on his mind. He needs to shut the fuck up sometimes and stop tweeting or talking about his upcoming films, I think. I appreciate his honesty and he's him talking like a fan and someone who's just real, but also he's an idiot. This doesn't necessarily mean he's fired, but the future of the DCU, let's see, because Superman, according to many people, Superman disappointed at the box office. A lot of people are saying this is the flop. This is the ultimate flop that everyone's been waiting for, that everyone predicted, that WB's financially gone because of this, and they want to jump ship. Now, I want to read you something that summarizes many of the reports on how profitable Superman 2025 was, okay? The film's theatrical net was not enough to recoup the total investment, so yes, it was disappointing. Now, after additional revenue from digital sales and all that, it's profitable by $125 million. Okay? Now, I want you to take this into context. It has a higher profit margin than Man of Steel, I think by a factor of 2 to 3. But here's the issue. The standard for Superman 2025 is way higher, since this is the entryway to a new DCU, and it's higher than the standard for Man of Steel, because Man of Steel, even though it started the DCU, the standard for it was different, because the standard for Superman 2025 for Warner Brothers right now is way higher at a time where audience interest in superhero movies and film in general has waned completely. And then, of course, you can take into account inflation and all that shit, but even fuck all of that, regardless of that, despite this being somewhat profitable, it was still financially disappointing for Warner Brothers. Now, is this the reason Warner Brothers is jumping ship? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, James Gunn has failed, the DCU has failed, this is the tipping point for Warner Brothers wanting to be sold off. I want to make something very clear to you. This is fucking false. Warner Brothers, since their 2022 merger, the Discovery merger gave them an entire amount of debt that they inherited, that they've been trying to unload since then. Now, yes, do they hope that movies like Superman could help them? Of course. To think that they relied heavily on one film or a series of films to unload all that debt, that's financially that makes no sense. The DCU, with one movie that disappointed in context of what they thought it could do or would do, is not enough to make them jump ship. I'm going to explain to you objectively what is happening right now, because a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people fucking hate on James Gunn DCU and want any excuse to throw him out and say that he failed and the DCU failed. I'm going to tell you objectively what's happening here. The Warner Brothers split from Discovery has been in the running for years and is set for 2026 apparently, okay? Now, the moment they announced that this split's happening, guess what happened? A lot of bidders who wanted to buy in and who wanted to buy parts of Warner Brothers, including its IP, different properties, and media, they saw this as a good opportunity. So, because of this interest from bidders, Warner Brothers saw that as an opportunity to sell off parts of it so that they can unload some of the debt, the burden of debt that's been on them for years that they've been trying to unload just since the damn merger happened in 2022 or 2021, whenever it was. And this is happening still despite the fact that Warner Brothers, regardless of what people say about Superman flopping and all that, Warner Brothers had a very profitable year. I think it was the first studio to reach a certain amount of money, like in the billions. I don't know exactly how, but it had a lot of high earners in the box office. Okay, Warner Brothers is doing fucking well. Now, yes, Does Superman's disappointing box office returns make them confident about the future of the DCU? Sure, but this is not a sole deciding factor for them to do this. They're doing this as a way of leveraging debt and creatively maneuvering around it as a business move. Okay? That's what's happening. This doesn't mean James Gunn's gone, the DCU's gone. This doesn't mean any of that. A lot of people are just going crazy. They still have a lot of IPs and properties that they have faith in and confidence in that are coming out. Yes, and I'm not just talking about DC. Properties all over. Okay? They know how valuable they are. That's why they're doing this. It's not because, oh, the DCU's failed, James Gunn's failed, we need to run now, jump shit. Are people idiots? Do people think this is how things work? It's like the fans are inserting what they want and projecting what they want onto what's happening here on the business end, okay? Selling parts of Warner Brothers can be done strategically to help debt. I want you to remember this, okay? Now, Paramount, and this is proof, Paramount has offered a bidding of $20 per share, I believe, to Warner Brothers, and they offered 3 different biddings. This is one of them. Warner Brothers rejected all of them because they said it's too low. They said we're at least 30. And I don't know if Paramount ever went that high, but regardless, this should tell you that they really want a lot of money. They really want to unload this debt. They want a studio that they believe and have faith in to do this for them, to help them with this, okay? So 3 bid offers, and this is Paramount that just got UFC and a bunch of different things, right? There's a lot of politics behind Paramount too, how they've been backed to take over a lot of different companies. There's a lot of money to be made here, and they still said no to that. And now I believe like Netflix and Comcast have shown interest in bidding. I don't know if Netflix is going to do it. I'm actually very skeptical of Netflix being the one to buy, but we're going to get to that. I actually think Comcast would be the perfect buyer for this because of all the different things they own right now. Let me tell you what will happen if Netflix, like a lot of people want Netflix. A lot of people want to see the Snyderverse on Netflix. This has been a thing for years now, right? Netflix is going to restore the Snyderverse. I'm going to tell you right now, Netflix is going to kill the entire film industry dead if this happens. Warner Brothers and Netflix, that would be a huge merger. Huge, the amount of properties Warner Brothers have. I'm telling you, it would kill the industry dead. This is shit. Dog shit. Now, we're going to get to the whole Snyder thing too. Listen, I'm not that big a fan of Snyder. I love Watchmen. I love 300. I think a lot of his recent films have been dog shit. All right? I'm not a big fan of the DCU. I liked Man of Steel. I liked Man of Steel a lot. And I liked the Snyder Cut. BVS, Joss Whedon's cut, bullshit, but yeah, that's not Snyder's work. But I enjoyed the Snyder cut, and you know, if you ask me, Safi, you don't want to see Darkseid again against Superman? Of course I want to see Darkseid fight Superman in the Justice League. Yes, I would love to see that. But you know what, guys? By the time this merger happens and these films are even set in stone, I guarantee you half the cast ain't coming back. Ben Affleck's definitely not coming back as Batman. Are you crazy? Henry Cavill will be too old by then. I don't even know if he's going to want to do it. My brother's focusing on Warhammer right now, making sure Amazon does what they need to do to make that a good show. Ezra Miller's gone. This dude doesn't have a career anymore. He fucked it up by starting his own cult and trying to groom children. You don't know about that? The only ones who could possibly come back are Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. Jason Momoa is freaking Lobo right now. I don't know. The last time I saw Zack Snyder Netflix combo up to do a film, it was the Rebel Moon movies. They're shit. They're some of the worst movies and the most laughable movies I've ever seen in my life. So even if I was okay with Zack Snyder doing something with the DCU, I don't trust Netflix. And Netflix will curb all theatrical releases. It's a streaming fucking platform. Streaming is a priority. You think all these movies are going to get theatrical releases? Some of them will, of course. But a lot of the movies that Warner Bros. Would traditionally want to have theatrical releases won't. And that might be a big problem. And it's why I'm skeptical of this sale even happening in the first place. Because that's big. Not to be a sore hater or anything, but Netflix is a debt-laden company themselves. They've had problems with debt since 2017. Yes, they've curbed a lot of it and they're doing better now, but they do stuff like junk bonds. They did a bond sale for refinancing, right? They're debt-laden. What happens when a company in debt and a debt-laden company come together? There's a chance that it could create a bubble that causes financial decision-making that can directly affect the properties you love. And that's the least of my issues. Because I believe that maybe they could find a way around it, but Netflix, the way they do things, fundamentally does not comport with the reality of good cinema. They're streaming and content oriented. Everything they do is for the phone, what content viewers would want, not the cinema audience, the content viewers. Retention, all that stuff. The cameras that they allow you to get. The mandates. I'm telling you, I made a whole ass video on how Netflix has ruined cinema in 10 years, how they used to be awesome, and they fucked it up not only because of the amount of content that they were putting money on, but all the mandates. Because of this, cinema will no longer be cinema, it'll be content. And they're gonna and this is going to change and alter how these movies are made. It's gonna kill the film industry dead, I'm telling you. Netflix doesn't just want the Snyderverse, they're gonna want a lot of Warner Brothers properties. Don't think they just want the Snyderverse. Are you fucking stupid? A deal of this magnitude would mean, I want a lot of your shit. I want a lot. If I'm Netflix, I want a lot of your juicy IP so I can fucking ruin it. Let's say James Gunn and Zack Snyder are both involved in some capacity. Let's say you have remnants of the DCU and DCU happening in tandem. Different universe happening at the same time. Maybe Netflix is like, cool. There's a way to get profit out of both of these universes. The mandates that are going to be on Zack Snyder and James Gunn, it's gonna feel like a stick is being shoved up their ass. And I guarantee you at least one of these people is gonna leave by the time it's done. Not to mention the money-saving tactics. Have you guys ever heard, for those of you who love the Netflix idea of the Snyderverse, have you guys ever heard of mini rooms? It's literally a cost-effective way of them to hire less talented writers for a more expensive movie. And they do this often. This has been proven. I made a whole fucking video on this. They've been doing this. The writer strikes, half of them are happening because of shit like this, and not to mention the use of AI constantly, but that's a whole different matter. This is a common tactic with streaming platforms. Not to mention, big actors, which is what is going to happen if you have the Snyderverse back, they're going to negotiate for more money in their contracts. One, because theatrical releases won't be happening as broadly. So they're going to ask for it. Gal Gadot did this with Red Notice. And then you have actors that refuse to take part in films that are not being released theatrically. I believe Elizabeth Olsen said this. The way actors renegotiate their contracts is going to change. And that's going to affect, one, how much money is being dumped on these films. And then the quality of the film itself. When movies get more and more expensive, producers and filmmakers tend to make a lot of weird decisions in their eyes to keep them profitable. We've seen this happen time and time. That's why they milk out certain IPs, because they have to. What's going to happen here, in my opinion, is it's going to create a bubble that's going to financially burst in front of everyone. It's going to burst in all their faces, including ours. I'm a long-term thinker. I'm not one of these dumb fucks who's like, okay, cool, this is good, we're going to get this right now, fuck James Gunn, fuck. You need to be objective about this, alright? If you're a DC fan, you're not going to like this because you don't want Netflix you don't want Netflix having any part in making your favorite IPs a reality. If you're a Snyder fan, do you know what's about to happen to the Snyder films? The quality of them is about to be even worse than you can ever imagine. Yes, you might get your dream film of Darkseid and Injustice and all this stuff. You don't want Netflix having a part in it. You saw what happened with Rebel Moon, man. Yes, but the story of that is not as good. Bro, the mini rooms are going to kill the writing of all these stories. If you're a Gunn fan, you're not going to like this because Gunn's DCU could be in jeopardy. I'm not saying that because it could be canceled. It's because the quality of films could go down completely. If you're a Gunn hater who just wants him out of a job, even then you don't get what you want because it's not even confirmed that he's gone. He just made one comment in an interview like a dumbass, and everyone's saying he's gone. If you're an anti-woke person who hates woke stuff and all that stuff, is like, yeah, we can have the base DCU. You think Netflix is going to give you that? Ask yourself, you think Netflix is going to give you that? Netflix! Some of you don't use your brains. And if you're a cinema fan, you might as well fucking dig an early grave. Open casket type shit. Now listen, I would actually be okay with a studio that can actually manage, and I don't know if this would be possible, but I'm just saying, I would be okay with a studio that can manage both sides of a DC universe, like a Snyderverse for the Snyder fans who keep bitching and crying for years about how they don't get the Snyderverse. You can give them what they want. The Gunn fans who's like, fuck Snyder, we're gonna do our own thing. You can appease both fans and make money off both of them. I truly think they could work. I don't think fans would really mind. They're two Batmans anyways. You have Gunn's Batman that's going to come and Robert Pattinson. I wouldn't mind seeing the Injustice Superman storyline. I already have my happy-go-lucky, bright Superman. I'm okay with seeing a homicidal maniac Superman too and an Injustice storyline too. I would be fine with that. I'm not one of these fans who's like, oh, it's one or the other, it's war. You dumbass fucking tribalist morons. But they ain't the one. Netflix ain't the one. You could say, oh, Apple TV. Apple, in terms of brand identity and positioning, it wouldn't make sense for them to get Warner Brothers. Comcast is the only one in my opinion. Netflix ain't the one. I don't want them touching this. If they did, it'd be the death of cinema. It's a cancer. They're cancer. Don't call me a prophet now. Call me a normal dude who has the ability to see the fucking obvious. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission. It's take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.